I got home early because the client meeting ended in record time. Nobody screamed. Nobody said circle back. It felt suspicious. The condo smelled like vanilla and something citrusy. From the hallway, I heard laughter coming from the living room. Ilara's voice mixed with 2 or 3 others on speaker. I didn't rush in. I just stood there, halfway out of my jacket, listening. "Just tell him you need space," a bright voice said. That was Mira, the kind of woman who could start a riot and then post about good energy only. "Disappear for a week, make him miss you. It's like emotional intermittent." Another voice giggled. "Yeah, say you're taking time to reconnect with yourself." Ilara laughed. "You guys are awful." "Come on," Mira said. "1 week, no calls, no texts, let him stew. It'll be fun to see how long before he freaks out." "Call it a clarity break," another friend giggled. "Men love clarity." "Clarity break?" Mira repeated. "Perfect. Also, do not text. Make a printed note." "Printed is serious," Ilara hesitated. "I don't know. That feels childish." "It's not childish," Mira said. "It's data. You'll see what he does when he thinks he might lose you." Ilara hesitated, then, in that playful tone I used to love, said, "Okay, fine. Let's do a show." The laughter that followed sounded like a sitcom. Bright, shallow, perfectly rehearsed. I leaned against the wall and watched my reflection in the hallway mirror. I didn't look angry, more like someone trying to remember where he left his car keys while his life quietly fell apart. The call drifted into harmless topics: someone's cat, brunch plans, nail polish. When it finally ended, silence settled back over the apartment. I stayed still for a minute, then walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stared at the counter. I wasn't angry. Anger requires surprise, and this just confirmed a suspicion I didn't want to name. I opened the drawer we used to call the grown-up drawer, full of batteries that didn't work and pens that didn't write, and pulled out a notebook. Drew 2 columns, left, emotional reactions, panic, pleading, silent treatment, self-blame, apology, forgiveness. Right, actions, document facts, separate finances, check prenup, contact lawyer, exit clean. I underlined exit clean. Ilara came out of the bedroom wearing an oversized t-shirt that said weekend, even though it was Tuesday. Hair up, no makeup, casual perfection, the kind that looks effortless because it takes 40 minutes. "You're home early," she said. "Miracle," I said, sipping water I didn't want. She opened the fridge, grabbed sparkling water, and perched on a stool. "Everything okay?" "Sure." "Work not killing you for once?" "Trying its best," I said. She smirked. "You're quiet." "Just thinking about budgets," I lied, because thinking about the end of our marriage sounded too dramatic for breakfast. "Well, don't overthink it," she said, tapping the can. "Life's short." "Apparently," I said. She didn't notice the tone, or maybe she did and chose not to. She smiled, stood, kissed my cheek, routine affection, muscle memory more than meaning, and disappeared down the hall. When the bedroom door clicked shut, I exhaled slowly. Not like a man relieved, but like someone realizing the chessboard had already been rearranged. Next morning smelled like burnt toast and espresso that deserved an apology. Ilara was already up, dressed, face unreadable. On the counter lay a printed sheet of paper. I didn't need to read it to know what it said. "Can we talk?" she asked softly. "We can," I said, leaning against the fridge. She pushed the paper toward me. "I don't feel anything anymore. I need space to figure things out. I'll stay with Mira for a week. Please don't call or text. I'll reach out when I'm ready." It was printed in a clean serif font, double-spaced. She'd really committed to the aesthetic of detachment. "You printed this?" I asked. "I wanted to be clear," she said, with the same tone people use when explaining return policies. I folded it neatly. "Okay, you'll find the details in your inbox." Her brows lifted. "What details?" "You said no calls? No texts?" I said. So I emailed. The silence that followed was one of my finest performances. She blinked. You're taking this well. I read somewhere acceptance is healthy. She squinted, waiting for sarcasm, but my face refused to help her. Do you need the car? I asked. I can leave it so your Uber doesn't block the driveway. Sure. Thanks. Great, I said. We stood there like two co-workers who just realized the coffee machine is broken. Then I rinsed my mug and walked out. By evening, her suitcase was parked in the hall. She wore the cardigan from our second anniversary trip. She used to call it her comfort layer. Apparently, I was no longer part of that comfort. I ordered a car, she said, adjusting the strap. 10 minutes. I'll help with the bag. She paused halfway to the door. Are you sure you're okay with this? You said you needed space, I said. I'm respecting that. It wasn't the line she expected. She wanted confusion, a chase scene. Instead, she got logistics. The car pulled up. I loaded her suitcase in the trunk, shut it carefully, like closing a file. Have a good week, I said. Yeah, she murmured. You too. The Uber pulled away. The street light flickered once, like the universe winking at me for finally catching up. Inside, the apartment felt huge. Too much oxygen, too few lies. I walked through each room, noticing the half-empty closet, the silent phone charger, the candle that still burned on the counter. I left it lit. It could finish on its own. Dinner was eggs, toast, avocado, the holy trinity of men rediscovering independence. I opened my laptop and drafted an email. Subject, logistics. During your week away, I'll handle groceries. Your name's off the app. Shared account access is adjusted for clarity. Please don't send physical mail here. I'll forward anything urgent electronically. You requested no calls or texts. I'll honor that. No emotion, just clean lines. I hit send, washed the single plate I'd used, and stared out the window at the city lights. For the first time in months, my reflection looked calm. Not happy, not angry, just finished. Then I opened a blank document and typed the title, Marital Settlement Agreement, MSA. Draft 1. And for the first time since I said, I do, I finally did something for me. Wednesday morning greeted me like a tax form, polite, inevitable, and full of fine print. No texts, no calls, no, I miss you already messages with heart emojis. Just silence, which honestly was the best sound I'd heard in months. The other side of the bed stayed flat. The pillow still smelled like her shampoo, something expensive that promised renewal. I brewed coffee strong enough to qualify as an exorcism and opened my laptop. First task on the new to-do list, reclaim control. I rerouted my paycheck to a new account I opened the day before. 2 clicks, 1 confirmation, and the bank app said, your changes are effective immediately. Perfect. Instant adulthood. Next, I removed Alara as an authorized user on the credit card. The app asked, are you sure? I said out loud, more than I've ever been in my life. I spent the rest of the morning cataloging our shared assets like I was on a reality show called Divorce Hoarders, the minimalist edition. The car? Hers. She loves it. The TV? Mine. She never learned how to use the remote anyway. Furniture? Split. Except the couch. I win by default because she always hated it. Kitchenware? Mine. She used the oven for storage. By 11 a.m., I had a color-coded spreadsheet so detailed it could probably qualify as modern art. Each line had a note, who bought it, who used it, and who would be more annoyed losing it. I stopped at shared subscriptions and nearly laughed out loud. There were 6 different streaming accounts, 2 food delivery apps, and something called Bloom Club Monthly that cost $39.99 and sent her mindfulness crystals. I canceled it and half expected a spirit to appear in protest. Lunch was grilled chicken and rice, the food of responsible men who now live alone and pretend to enjoy it. I opened the prenup again. Back when we signed it, it was just a formality. Now it felt like the universe had sent me a love letter that began with, Dear Lucas, nice work. My premarital savings were protected. My freelance equipment too. Even the apartment lease technically defaulted to me. I sat back, sipping water like a man who'd just realized his younger, cautious self had been a secret genius. By afternoon, I was in a law office that smelled like printer ink and indifference. The attorney was a woman in her 40s with a calm face that said she'd seen every version of heartbreak and still preferred coffee over sympathy. "I'm Clara," she said, shaking my hand. "Tell me everything important and nothing poetic." "I can do that." I summarized the situation. No drama, just facts. She took notes fast. No raised brows, no pity nods. She adjusted her glasses. "Proof?" "I wrote down what I heard," I said, handing her a short summary I'd typed the night before. "A conversation between my wife and her friends. They planned a fake breakup, a test to see if I'd panic. She tapped her pen once. That's enough. You've got intent, pattern, and motive. We can work with this. With this and the prenup, we can proceed with a swift marital settlement agreement. If she cooperates, it'll be uncontested. If not, still solid ground." She asked for space, correct? "Her idea," I said. "Then let's give it legal form." "That's the healthiest kind of distance," I smiled faintly. "That's poetic." "I charge extra for that," she said, and went back to typing. When she printed the draft, it looked like a small victory disguised as paperwork. She pushed it across the table. "Review this. You'll need a notary. Sign, and we can file it online." I scanned the pages. Clean, professional, sharp. 60-40 split, she said. "You keep your savings, investments, and professional assets. She keeps her car and whatever she took to her friends. Fair?" "Very." "Then congratulations," Clara said, standing. "You're halfway out." "Feels weirdly easy," I admitted. "That's what happens when one side mistakes games for love," she said. "Paperwork wins every time." Back home, I made pasta and added way too much garlic because nobody could stop me. Freedom tasted like over-seasoned confidence. I opened a new folder on my laptop called Exit Plan. Inside it, the prenup, the MSA draft, account statements, a list titled Things I Actually Care About. That last one was shorter than I expected. I also rented a small storage unit downtown, a place to put everything that mattered and nothing that didn't. When I arrived, the clerk looked like he'd been watching people move on for 20 years. "Breakup or apocalypse prep?" he asked. "Little of both," I said. He grinned. "We've got discounts for both kinds." Thursday morning, the notary office was quiet except for a faint hum of fluorescent lights that sounded like anxiety. I signed the papers one page at a time, each signature lighter than the last. The notary didn't care about the symbolism. She just stamped, slid the document, and said, "Next." It was oddly therapeutic. By 9:30 a.m., I walked out with a sealed copy in one hand and a quiet sense of done in the other. Back at the apartment, I sat by the window, sunlight spilling across the hardwood floor. On the counter lay a pile of receipts, vacations, dinners, small holidays that once felt big. I didn't rip them up. I just boxed them and wrote "then" on top. Then I opened the court services app, uploaded the documents, and filed the petition electronically. A digital receipt popped up. Case number 12F-4-391 accepted. I screenshotted it. Not because I needed proof, because I liked the symmetry. Friday morning. Sky perfect, inbox empty, phone silent. I arranged for a courier, a professional process server recommended by Clara. Former military. The kind of man who could deliver a subpoena and still be home for dinner. When he called, his voice sounded like gravel. "Address?" I gave him Mira's. "Tonight," he said, and hung up. Good man, efficient, probably terrifying. I spent the day packing what I actually needed. Laptop, a few clothes, my guitar. The photo of my father shaking my hand on my wedding day. Ironic now, but still real. By noon, boxes lined the wall. The apartment echoed differently, like it was waiting to forget us. At 4:30, my phone buzzed. A photo. Alara stood at Mira's door, barefoot, a wine glass in hand, Laughter caught midair. Surrounded by the same friends from that call. In front of her, the courier, posture straight, envelope extended. The caption below read, "Delivery completed. Witnesses present." I stared at it for a long second, then exhaled through a smile I didn't expect. Clean, precise, no yelling, no closure speech, just finality. I leaned back in my chair and thought, if life were a board game, that's checkmate with extra paperwork. The photo from the courier sat in my inbox for a long minute before I deleted it. No need to stare. I'd seen enough. The laugh, the glass of wine, the unbothered ease right before reality kicked her in the teeth. There was a strange beauty in how clean it all was. No yelling, no accusations, just an envelope and a signature. A 5-year marriage ending with better delivery tracking than most online orders. I closed the laptop and sat there in the half-dark, listening to the hum of the fridge. It felt like the only thing left still trying to keep something alive. Saturday morning came with sunlight sharp enough to cut. I woke up early, not because I had anywhere to be, but because peace gets impatient once it finds you. The apartment looked staged, neat, empty, meaningless. 2 coffee mugs on the counter, one untouched. A pillow with the faint shape of her head that had already started to fade. I brewed coffee, strong and bitter, and stood by the window. The city outside didn't care that my life had rebooted overnight. Cars still honked, someone still walked a golden retriever wearing a ridiculous sweater, and a guy across the street still burned his toast. It was comforting. The world had the decency to move on immediately. I started packing, 1 box at a time. Clothes I actually wore, books I'd reread someday, my guitar, the stubborn little plant that had seen too much. Everything else went into piles labeled keep, donate, or why did we buy this? Every marriage should end with a garage sale of lies. By 10 a.m., the place echoed. I taped the last box shut and looked around. 5 years reduced to 7 boxes and a faint coffee smell. Clean, efficient, almost corporate. Before leaving, I wrote a note on plain white paper. Fakes are for games. I chose reality. I set it on the kitchen island next to a small box of her things. Candles, framed photos, that stupid but first, coffee mug she loved, a scarf I'd bought in Lisbon. On top, a check for her share of the deposit. No memo line, no sarcasm, just closure. I took one last look around, memorizing the silence, then turned off the lights and locked the door. That sound, the final click, might have been the most satisfying thing I'd heard all year. I was halfway across the parking lot when the universe decided to give me one last encore. Tires screeched. A silver car slid in, braking hard enough to protest. Alara jumped out, barefoot, hair messy. Mira's oversized sweater hanging off one shoulder, the same sweater from the photo. "Lucas!" she called, running up. "Wait!" I stopped, calm, curious. It was like watching the post-credit scene of a movie I'd already rated 1 star. She came closer, breathless. "You can't be serious! You actually went through with it?" "Yep," I said. "Paperwork and everything?" Her eyes widened. "You filed?" "I did." "Why would you—" "You said you needed space," I interrupted. "I just made it legal." "That was before I knew you'd do this," she snapped. I figured it out pretty fast. She stared at me, searching for the old version of me. The guy who'd apologize, fix it, carry the guilt for both of us. He didn't live here anymore. "It was supposed to be temporary," she said. "It wasn't real." "Exactly," I said. "That's the problem." None of it was. Her lip trembled, but not from sadness, from disbelief. "Lucas, come on. You can't just end a marriage like this." "Sure I can," I said. "Apparently, you can test one like this." "That's not fair." "You're right," I said. "It's balanced now." She shook her head, hair falling over her eyes. "You don't understand. It was a joke." I almost laughed. Then the punchline's killer. "Stop it," she said, voice cracking. "I'm sorry." "I really am. I know," I said. But apologies don't unprint the scripts. Can we please talk? We did, I said. You just didn't know I was listening. She froze. You heard that? Every word? Her mouth opened, then closed. The silence that followed was almost kind. I pointed toward her car. You should move it. It's blocking someone's future. She didn't laugh. I did. Quietly. A yellow cab rolled up right on cue. The driver leaned out. You Lucas? Yeah. I tossed my bag into the back seat. Alara took a half step forward. Where are you going? Forward, I said. The cab pulled away, tires crunching on gravel. In the mirror, she shrank smaller and smaller until she was just color and regret. The new studio smelled like paint, dust, and freedom. Exposed brick, big window, quiet. No scented candles, no playlist arguments, no expectations. I unpacked slowly. Not like a man starting over, but like someone finally arranging things in a way that made sense. Books lined up perfectly, kitchen tools in drawers instead of aesthetic baskets. Laptop on the desk, guitar in the corner. Above the desk, I pinned 2 papers. 1, court receipt, finalized. 2, new start cut shared finances, done. Secure housing done. Legal filing complete, done. Personal accounts updated, done. 0 contact, 4 boxes checked. 1 left to live. I got ready and walked down to the cafe on the corner. The barista called everyone boss, even people clearly not qualified. I sat by the window, opened a fresh notebook, and wrote on the first page. When fiction collapses, reality remains. It looked melodramatic, but accurate. At the next table, a couple argued about a podcast, then started laughing halfway through. I hoped they made it. Everyone deserves one good second chance. I just already used mine. Back upstairs, I cooked steak and vegetables, poured a glass of red wine, and watched the city shift from gold to gray. The room filled with quiet, not the tense silence of waiting for another argument, but the good kind, the healing kind. I thought of Alara probably standing in the empty apartment, finding the box, reading the note, realizing the performance had ended without her applause. That wasn't satisfaction. It was relief. I sat down, pen in hand, and checked the final box. 0 contact. Then I leaned back, exhaled, and smiled. Small, honest, earned, not victory, peace. The show she directed had ended. Mine had just begun. 3 days after I moved, my phone started buzzing like a cheap alarm clock. Group chats, old friends, a cousin I hadn't heard from since 2018. Mira's post was everywhere. Screenshots, a smug caption, a short video clip from the night of the girls' chat. The headline energy was, "We ran a little social experiment on my friend's husband. Guess what? He folded." The comments were not kind, not to me, to them. People love a villain until they realize the villain is just bored. By noon, Mira doubled down in stories. "Ladies, sometimes you have to test loyalty. If he leaves, he never loved you." The internet answered, "Or maybe he loved himself enough to leave." Brutal, accurate, viral. At 1:06 p.m., my phone flashed an unknown number. I let it ring. It rang again and again. On the 4th call, I picked up. "Alara?" She didn't waste a second. "Please don't say anything online. I'm begging you." "I haven't said a word," I said. "They're tearing me apart," she said, voice shaking. "My boss saw it. My mom saw it. People are texting me like I kicked a puppy. I didn't post anything," I repeated. "Mira is... she..." Alara stopped, and when she spoke again, the anger had drained. "She said it would be funny. That it would make you chase me. She's claiming it was all my idea." "So the director fired the actress," I said. Silence. "Can we meet?" she asked. "Just 15 minutes. Please, I should have said no." I said, "Text me a coffee place." Somewhere quiet. She chose a small cafe near the river. She was early, hair tied back, no makeup, the sweater replaced by a plain gray hoodie. She looked like a person, not a performance. I sat. She didn't touch her cup. I'm sorry, she said right away. Not the Instagram sorry. Real sorry, I nodded. Not helpful and not cruel. Mira posted the call? She recorded it, Alara said. Said it was a backup in case I changed my mind. Then she leaked it when I told her to delete it. She says I owe her content. She's a great friend, I said. Alara flinched. I know how this looks. I look stupid. I am stupid. You're not stupid, I said. You're outsourced. You outsourced your judgment. She swallowed. I thought if you chased me, I'd feel wanted. I didn't expect you to go quiet, sign things, move out. I didn't expect to be the villain. You're not a villain, I said. You're just the author of a bad idea. Her eyes filled, and she blinked fast to keep the tears where they belonged. Everyone's laughing at me. They're not laughing, I said. They're warning each other. She tapped the table with a shaky finger. Mira said I should spin it. Do an apology video. Say it was a skit. And do you think that's true? She stared at the wood grain. I don't know what I think. That's the problem. I keep asking other people to think for me. I didn't jump in. I let the quiet be useful. After a long minute, she said, I miss you. I breathed out slowly. I miss who we were before you turned us into homework. That's fair, she whispered. What now? Now? I said. You stop taking advice from a woman who treats life like a talk show. You step off the internet. You apologize to yourself first. Then maybe you apologize to me. Not for the post, for the idea. She nodded, eyes red. I'm sorry for the idea. I stood. Good start. Lucas, she said, standing too. Is this over? The honest answer surprised me. Not if you start thinking with your own head. She closed her eyes like the sentence hurt and helped at the same time. Can we talk again? Not today. After I clean up this mess, we can talk, I said. Talking is free. Trust is not. I left her at the table with her untouched coffee and a phone that wouldn't stop buzzing. Outside, the wind felt colder than it should. I walked home with my hands in my pockets and a thought I didn't want. I still loved her. I just didn't love the way she'd been loving me. The next 48 hours were a free masterclass in consequences. Mira posted more, then deleted. Then posted a Notes app apology, then deleted that too. Her followers turned on her. Alara stopped appearing in any of it. On the third day, my phone buzzed again. Alara. I confronted Mira. I'm done. I want my life back. A photo arrived, her blocking Mira's number. A second one, her deactivating her account. Not a speech, a decision. I typed, meet tomorrow. Same cafe. She sent back a single, okay. I put my phone face down and stared at the ceiling. I didn't know the ending yet, but for the first time since the note on the counter, I wanted to find one that wasn't just clean. I wanted one that was true. She arrived on time. Hi, she said. Hey. We stood there for an extra beat. Then we sat. I told her to get out of my life, Alara said. I told the girls too. No more games, no more advice that sounds smart and feels empty. How'd that go? I asked. 2 of them unfollowed me, she said with a short laugh. Mira sent me a voice note calling me ungrateful and boring. I think boring was the point. Boring can save marriages, I said. It also makes good coffee. She looked at me for a long second. Do you still hate me? I never hated you, I said. I hated the committee meeting inside your head. That committee is fired, she said, serious now. I booked therapy. Real therapy, not a podcast. Wednesday mornings. Good, I said. That's for you, not for me. I know. She took a breath. Lucas, I love you. I didn't trust you. That's on me. I wanted proof so badly that I forgot love isn't a lab. No more tests, I said. No more tests, she echoed. I took a sip of coffee. We can't pretend it didn't happen. I don't want to, she said. I want to rebuild it in the open. No more cute tricks. No more disappearing acts. If something feels off, I say it. If you need space, you say when you're back. Clear? Clear, I said. And Lucas? She leaned in, not too close. If we do this, we do it slow. No overnight comeback. No, we're perfect now posts. No audience deal, I said. But I need conditions. Tell me. 1, I said, raising a finger. Phones on the table when we talk. No hiding. 2, if any friend has an opinion about our marriage, we ignore it unless we both ask for it. 3, if either of us feels the drama meter going up, we stop and ask, is this about us or about a show? She smiled, sad and real. Add a 4th? If I ever say I need space, it means 20 minutes and a walk around the block. Not a week. Not a performance, 4th accepted, I said. She swallowed. What about the papers? We can withdraw, I said. Petitions can be dismissed before final judgment. The law lets people change their minds. I checked. Of course you checked, she said. And for the first time that day, we both laughed. We sat in the new quiet, not the heavy kind, the useful kind. Do you want to see the studio? I asked. I put the spoons in a normal drawer, no baskets. She nodded. I want to see the life you started. And I want to earn my way back into it. We walked without touching. It wasn't a rejection. It was respect for the distance we were crossing. The studio looked smaller with 2 people, bigger with the right 2 people. She stood by the window, hands in her coat pockets. You did this fast, she said. I had practice, I said. I used to rearrange our apartment in my head when we fought. I know, she said. I saw you go quiet and thought it was weakness. It wasn't. It was you not wanting to make a loud mistake. We stood there, both looking out at the city we hadn't ruined. I'm going to mess up again, she said. Not like before. But I'm not perfect. I want you to tell me when I slip into performance. I will, I said. And I'll tell you when I'm retreating too far. That's my habit. Deal, she whispered. She took off her coat and folded it across the chair. Neat, careful, not performative. Then she looked at the new start sheet pinned above the desk. All boxes checked. Below it, I'd taped a new one. Build something true. Empty, waiting. She smiled at that. What's step 1? Dinner, I said. Real food, real talk. I'll chop, she said. You always chop onions like you're mad at them. I am, she said. They cry first. We cooked. We talked like beginners. We didn't fix everything. We started. After dishes, 2 plates, 2 forks, exactly enough. We sat on the couch I didn't own anymore and drew up a plan like adults who finally wanted a life, not a show. Therapy, hers weekly, couples bi-weekly after a month. Phones, away during meals and arguments. Friends, boundaries with all of them, no more private committees. Check-ins, Sunday night, 20 minutes, no phones, 1 question each. What did you need this week and didn't get? Exit clause. If either of us tries a test, we pause everything for a week, not to leave, but to repair. When we finished, she looked at me, eyes bright but steady. I don't deserve this. Maybe not, I said. But I don't deserve a performance either. Let's both try being undeserving and showing up anyway. She breathed out, relieved and terrified. I can do that. I walked her to the door. We didn't kiss, we didn't post. We scheduled therapy, and the next morning I filed the dismissal request. The clerk stamped it like it was no different than canceling a dentist appointment. Maybe that's how it should be. Endings and beginnings, both boring on paper. We moved a month later. No memories packed, no photos from the old apartment, no what-if boxes. Just 2 suitcases, 1 guitar, and a plant that somehow survived everything. The new place wasn't fancy. Small balcony, creaky floors, sunlight that hit the wall like it was trying to say good morning in person. But it was ours, not a museum of mistakes. We didn't try to recreate what we had. We built something that didn't have to look like forgiveness, just like peace. No framed quotes about love, no shared passwords, no "we're stronger now" captions. Just quiet mornings, separate mugs, and the sound of coffee brewing instead of arguments. Sometimes she'd catch me watching her, not suspiciously, just curiously, like I was still learning who she really was when she wasn't performing. And she'd smile, small and shy. "What?" she'd ask. "Just making sure you're real," I'd say. "I am," she'd answer, finally. We stopped talking about the past. Not because we forgot, because we'd already understood everything there was to understand. Now, when people ask how we fixed it, I tell them the truth. We didn't fix the old us. We buried it. Then we built something new on quiet ground. No audience, no applause, just two people who finally learned how to think before they test. And that's all the experiment we'll ever need. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.